Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to change your spark plugs on the Yamaha FJR 1300. And I get this question a lot, and in retrospect I should have just tagged this right onto the end of my throttle body sync video, because my response has been to everybody that's been asking about it, just watch that and the plugs are right there. But it's obviously still confusing to a lot of people, so this is why I'm going to do this separate video just for that. Now the difference is, if you want to see all the nitty-gritty of leading up to getting to the spark plugs, taking all these panels off, you want to see all the in-depth details, watch the throttle body sync video because I go through all of that. In this video I'm still going to show you how to do it, but it's going to be very quick. I'm not going to go into a lot of other details. So first I'm going to get to the spark plugs. It's just taking a couple panels off, propping the gas tank up, and boom, it's right there. It really is a very easy procedure once you see it. I know the book can be a little confusing and it's kind of daunting just looking at it if you've never done it before. So let's get to it. First thing you have to do is make sure that your bike is up on the center stand. This is not something you want to be doing on the side stand because it needs to be nice and level. Second thing is to remove your seats, because we need to get in there and remove the panel underneath the gas tank. Now, another very common question I'm getting on my later videos is, hey, where'd you get those seats? What kind are they? Where'd you get those red panels? Blah, blah, blah. A lot of questions. Everything I've done to my bike, the mods, the maintenance, and all that kind of stuff, I've got videos for on the site, TwoWheelObsession.com. These are LAM seats, L-A-A-M seats.com. Awesome, awesome seats. Lots of varieties out there. I wanted these as much as stock as possible. These are the carbon pattern top. These are vinyl, and a smooth vinyl on the sides, and they're black, so they look as stock as possible. Absolutely love them, highly recommend them. These red panels, my video and the posts and everything have the part numbers you can order. Any place that sells online OEM parts, you can get them from, very inexpensive. Next we have to take this plastic piece off, and that comes off very quickly. You've got one quick connector here. Give it a quarter turn or so. Sometimes it just likes to spin. If you put any pressure on it, it's hard to pop it out. It's just in very lightly. And just wiggle that loose. And then we have a hex bolt here. It is a 4mm. And then you have two identical on the other side. Now, to remove this, all you do is pop it. It's just in with a couple posts in rubber grommets. And then do the same thing on the other side. Next up is removing the two bolts that hold the front of the fuel tank to the frame. Now, no matter what tool you'll use, no matter what tool you use to remove these, be it a socket adapter or just a regular Allen wrench or a T-handle, make sure that you have an exact snug fit for this. All right, don't try to use any other close size because these will very easily strip. If you're using an extension like I am here, just to make sure that I'm not bumping any paint, yes, I could take my wrench down here, but you know what, if something slips, I'm going to be hitting stuff. All you have to do is make sure you have a very firm downward straight grip and make sure that socket is in there evenly, and you won't have any problems. Loosen it up. It's not in there, at least it shouldn't be, with that much force. And there you go. Just nice, slow, even pressure. You want to prevent it from jumping and you'll never have any problem. So now they're loose, and I can go ahead and spin those out manually. On the right-hand side of the bike, at the bottom of the tank, we have a bolt coming through from the left, ending in a nut. We are going to loosen this nut so that we can allow the tank to pivot. Just break it loose, and that's all we have to do. We're not going to remove it. Now we can tilt the tank up. Book spec when doing work under here like throttle body sync or the spark plugs is to remove the tank entirely. You certainly can. All it involves is running that bolt all the way out and disconnecting the fuel lines, making sure no fuel spills, and the two electrical connections. You can do that if you want to, but there's no need to do it. We can do it this way by tilting it up. We've loosened that, we've removed these top two bolts. All you have to do is grab from underneath the tank on the front lip And obviously this is easier the emptier the tank is, which mine is not. And you can see that we get a nice up tilt. Okay, it only goes back this far. The tank is hitting some of the connections back here. So that's all the pivot we get. Well, all we have to do now is put something in place in this space here. You can use a piece of wood. I'm going to use, which works perfectly for me, a textbook. Okay, perfect size. It's not like we use them anymore, right? There we go. That's better. So now we've got that nice and secure. Plenty of room to work. That's all we need. So here we're going to remove these 3 14 mil bolts, and I forgot to mention the bolt for the lower tank was a 12 mil. So I'm going to go ahead and take this T-bar brace off and remove it. Next up, we have to unclip these 2 electrical connections for the fuel tank. You have a push tab on each one. You just give it a wiggle down. Again, kind of hard with gloves. Let me swing around the other side here. There we go. Now we've got one more quick connect here. It's a Phillips screw tight. Just give it a quarter turn, pop it out, and we're going to feed these through the hole and remove this heat shield. Okay, now we come to the real fun part. Heat shield's off, and this is why I say, you know, if you're doing the throttle body sync, which those nubs are right here, right there, you can see it in the video. Plugs are right here. So, you know, all you have to do is, if you're doing the throttle body, take out that heat shield, and ta-da, you got your 4 plugs. All right, they're easy to see. They're easy to get to. A lot of people look at this and go, oh my freaking God, what is all this crap? You got your fuel rails, you got some water cooling jackets, you've got the air induction system. It looks confusing. It's really not. All we're concerned about are these 4 little guys right here. These are your connections. To take the electrical connections off, very easy. You've got a push tab right here on top of each one. It is easier with 2 hands. I'm going to try to do it with one so I don't block the camera view. You just push down here, give it a wiggle back, and they'll slide right off. All right. I would suggest doing these either one at a time, or be real sure of where you put these here. You don't want to mix these up just in case you have any kind of issue. You don't want it to be traveling cylinders. These obviously you can't screw up. They are all tied together. So it doesn't matter if you take all the electrical connections off at once or not. You got 2 on one side and 2 on the other to the harness. Okay. So no big deal here. These, I'll tell you, pulling the plug wires off, the connectors from the plugs themselves, are the most annoying part of any plug change on any vehicle. Now these luckily are not that difficult. Even for me with big hands, I can do these pretty quickly. The trick with getting any wire off the plug is to give it a side-to-side wiggle to break that bond before you start pulling. If you just start trying to pry this up and you haven't wiggled it loose, it's going to be on there with a lot of suction, and it's going to have some kind of stickiness to the ceramic itself, and it's going to be a bitch. So give it as much side-to-side wiggle as you can. And again, this is really easier on these with 2 hands. What you need to do is just apply a constant up motion. All right, be constantly pulling out, but you're not tugging. You're not trying to pull it off like this. You'll never get it off by trying to tug it up like that. And if you do have problems getting your hands in here, they make very nice tools specifically for this. You can go to the auto store and just spend a few bucks on spark plug wire needle nose pliers. They're long, they're curved, and they're rounded at the end. So they come in under here, and they cradle this, and they allow you to very safely grip it and apply upward pressure very evenly. All right, you could even lean it up against this metal rail here if you needed to. But I'm just going to try to wiggle it a little bit, side to side, and I got my arm, you know, laying on the bike here, and I'm just leveraging my arm up, trying to maintain an upward pressure while I'm wiggling this side to side, and it should pop. There we go. And that's it. All right, so this is what you're breaking, is just this rubber seal in there. And of course, older it is, the longer these have been in here, the harder that's going to be. You can see where there was a seal here against the cylinder head. So that's what you're breaking by wiggling that. That's really the only hard part. Now we've got the plug in there. Now if you have a shop vac or a very good strong air blower or something, I would suggest blowing down in here just to get out any debris. There shouldn't be any. If you saw any on here when you removed the heat shield, do that first, of course. But this has a rubber seal, so there shouldn't be any debris down in that head. Okay, so I'm not going to do it. I know mine's brand new and I don't see any dirt whatsoever, so I know there's nothing down there. I'm just going to go ahead and get that plug out now. Now I've got a normal 5/8 spark plug socket. And the only thing that differs between a regular deep well and a spark plug socket is this rubber insert. So that helps the spark plug stay in it. So when it's loose, you can just pull it right out. If you're using any other kind of socket or you're having any trouble getting the plug out, you just stick a little magnet probe down there and it'll come right out once it's loose. So we're going to carefully put this down onto the plug. Now these have never been out. These are my stock plugs, so it may be a bit snug. Oh, and by the way, never ever do this when the engine is warm. It has to be stone cold. And there we go. Now it's loose. I'm going to hand spin it out. Now if you haven't noticed yet by my videos, I'm a tinkerer. I love modifying things. I love making things better. On my 06, my previous FJR, I retired it with 50-some thousand miles. I tried a lot of plugs. All right, I bought into all the marketing bullshit. I tried the platinums, I tried the 4-prong, I tried the iridiums. Nothing worked as well as stock. I regret ever pulling that perfect stock set out. Didn't have any problems with them. Just wanted to see if I would get better fuel mileage, better performance as promised. No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. What I ended up doing was multiple times spending 50, 60 bucks on a set of plugs. Crazy money for freaking spark plugs. Got no better fuel mileage and no better seat of my pants performance. And here we can see a beautiful, normal, stock spark plug with about 3,000 miles. You know, basically brand new, perfect condition. This is what a perfect spark plug looks like for your enjoyment and reference. So there you go. Obviously I'm not changing these, I'm just doing this video to show you how. Putting it back in, putting in new plugs. What you want to do is make sure it's seated well in your spark plug socket. Again, if you're not using one that captures it, I suggest one of those little grabber units, because you don't want to just chuck this down and let it fall down and possibly damage any of the ceramics or put a dent in your sealing surface on the cylinder head. So you make sure it's nice and secure. Carefully put it down in there and hand thread it. I go backwards. Spin it backwards a few times until that thread, you can feel it catching the lip. Then go forward very, very gently. If you feel any resistance, stop. You are cross-threading it. Back it out. If you feel resistance while hand threading it, you're not going to damage anything. Okay, it's not too late. If you use your ratchet to thread it down and you start feeling resistance, it's too late. You have started to bugger up the thread. So you get it snug, hand tight, which isn't very tight at all. You will have crush washers on them. I find it's okay to reuse them once, maybe twice. New ones are obviously going to have a new crush washer. So when you torque it down for the first time and it's a brand new plug, you are going to have a varying amount of resistance until it actually torques. Torque these down to, I believe the spec is 14 foot-pounds. It's not that much, but it is aluminum, so you do not want to go too far. Again, put your tool gently down onto the plug. Make sure it's seated. And then, now because this crush washer is already used, it's going to go right to torque. Now I have done this in other engine bolts many times. I know what the torques feel like. I know where to stop. I don't need to use a torque wrench on every measurement. There we go. So you put your spark plugs back in. You've kept track of which boot went to which plug. Gently put this down, and the trick with putting these on is to push it down as far as you can, and then you have to wiggle it again while you push down, and you're gonna feel it click, and you're gonna hear it kind of snick and pop into place, and that's the little spring going over the top electrode and the rubber seals getting into place here on top of the valve cover. Bada bing, bada boom. Put your connector back on and reassemble the bike. That's it. Heat shield, quick connect, 2 electricals for the tank, lower the tank. I would put these top 2 bolts to the tank in first, then tighten down your rear one, put on your trim piece, and give her a shot. Alright, that's it guys. Hope it helps. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And again, check the site for all the other videos and how-tos and maintenance and stuff like that. We'll see you next time.